What would happen if the dams in the Netherlands, a country with 26% of its land below sea level, were to break? It's a chilling thought, isn't it? This picturesque nation of tulips and windmills is also home to an intricate and vital system of dams, dikes, and other water control structures. They stand as silent sentinels, defending the land and its people from the ever-looming threat of water. Now, imagine for a moment if these structures were to fail. The potential for catastrophic flooding is not just substantial, it's downright terrifying. Towns and cities could be submerged, infrastructures destroyed, and countless lives endangered. We're talking about an event that could change the very face of the Netherlands, and potentially, its future. A disaster of this magnitude is hard to imagine, yet preparation is key to survival. So stick around, folks. We're about to dive into the deep end of disaster preparedness. In a world where the dams have broken, the Netherlands would face unprecedented challenges. Picture this. The immediate aftermath of such an event would be akin to a scene straight out of a disaster movie. The initial flooding would be swift and severe, swallowing up towns and cities with little discrimination. Homes, businesses, and infrastructure would all fall victim to the onslaught of water, causing extensive property damage that would take years, if not decades, to repair. But the water doesn't just destroy physical structures. The potential loss of life is a much more heart-wrenching consequence. Many could find themselves trapped in their homes, unable to escape the rapidly rising floodwaters. The elderly and the infirm, those unable to fend for themselves, would be at particular risk. It's a sobering thought, but one that needs to be faced head-on if we're to prepare effectively. However, the immediate aftermath is just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. In the long term, the effects of the dam break would ripple out, causing far-reaching consequences. Displacement would be a significant issue. Thousands, possibly millions, would need to leave their homes, seeking refuge in less affected areas. This mass exodus would put a strain on resources and infrastructure, causing a domino effect of problems. The economic impact, too, would be significant. With a large portion of the Netherlands underwater, businesses would falter, and the economy would take a hit. Unemployment rates would spike, and the country would likely enter a period of economic recession. And let's not forget about the environmental damage. The sudden influx of salt water could drastically alter the ecosystem, posing a serious threat to the local flora and fauna. The landscape of the Netherlands, as we know it, would be irrevocably changed. These are grim scenarios, but with knowledge we can prepare. Yes, it's a dark picture we're painting here, but it's not without purpose. Knowledge is power, and in this case, it's the key to survival. We can't stop the dams from breaking, but we can arm ourselves with the tools and the know-how to weather the storm. So, how does one prepare for such a disaster? Now that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's about time we delve into the heart of this matter, disaster preparedness. You see, it's not just about having an umbrella for the rainy days, but about having a lifeboat when the flood comes. Let's talk about the backbone of any disaster plan, the emergency kit. Picture a sturdy waterproof container filled to the brim with essentials. We're talking about enough food and water to last for at least 3 days, folks. And we're not talking about gourmet meals here, but non-perishable, easy-to-prepare items. Think canned beans, not caviar, but that's not all. An emergency kit should also include a first aid kit, prescription medications, and essential tools like a can opener. And don't forget about personal hygiene items. Just because it's an apocalypse doesn't mean you have to smell like it. Now on to the next crucial part, the emergency plan. This is your roadmap to safety. It lays out where to go, what to do, and how to stay safe when disaster strikes. You'll want to identify evacuation routes from your home and safe places to meet up with your family. Discuss this plan with your family, rehearse it, know it like the back of your hand. But let's not forget about waterproof storage. In a flood scenario, like the one we're discussing, water is your enemy. So, it's essential to keep your important documents, electronics, and other valuables in waterproof containers. It's like building an ark for your stuff, only smaller. And finally, we need to talk about evacuation strategies. Knowing when to stay put and when to hit the road is crucial. Listen to the authorities, follow their instructions, and remember that early evacuation can save lives. Preparation is not about fear, it's about survival. So let's keep our heads high, our kits ready, and our plans in place. Because when we're prepared, we're already halfway to survival. In times of disaster, community and communication become vital. When disaster strikes, the people around you, your neighbors, local officials, and emergency service personnel, they're not just fellow survivors, they're your team, they're your lifeline, they're your community. In a scenario such as a dam break, the need for coordination and cooperation becomes paramount. Think about it. Your neighbor might have a boat you could use to navigate flooded streets, or the local official might have access to vital information about safe zones and evacuation routes. But how do you tap into this network of resources and support? The key lies in effective communication. Now you might be thinking, I've got my smartphone, I'm all set. But folks, in a widespread disaster, traditional communication networks can be disrupted or overloaded. That's where emergency radios come in. These aren't your grandpa's old-timey transistor radios. We're talking about modern, robust devices that can receive weather alerts, tune into emergency services, and even communicate with other radios. With a good emergency radio, you can stay connected even when the world around you seems to be falling apart. But communication isn't just about technology. It's also about signals, the old-fashioned, low-tech kind. A piece of cloth tied to a door handle, or a certain pattern of flashing lights can convey important messages. For instance, I need help, or I'm okay. In the face of a disaster, it's this combination of high-tech and low-tech communication that could mean the difference between life and death. It's the glue that binds your survival community together, allowing you to pool resources, share information, and provide mutual support. Remember, in a crisis, no one is an island. We're all in the same boat, sometimes quite literally. So reach out, connect, communicate, establish those vital links now so that when disaster strikes, you're not alone. You're part of a community. And that's powerful, because as they say, together we are stronger. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to disaster preparedness. Understanding the elements is not just about knowing if you'll need an umbrella tomorrow. It's about understanding the impact of weather conditions on our surroundings, like our dams here in the Netherlands. So, how do you stay informed? Well, that's where resources like the Royal Netherlands Meteorological Institute come in. They provide valuable updates on weather conditions which can help you anticipate potential flood risks. Also, the Netherlands Water Partnership gives you the lowdown on dam safety, flood risks, and even water management. But don't just rely on these resources. Make it a habit to regularly check your local news and weather updates. It's also a good idea to keep an ear out for any emergency alerts or updates from local authorities. Remember, in situations like these, being one step ahead is always better. Being informed could mean the difference between danger and safety. Preparing for a disaster like the breaking of the Netherlands dams may seem overwhelming, but it's doable. Let's take a moment to reflect on what we've covered. The first step is understanding the potential disaster. If the dams in the Netherlands were to break, we're looking at a catastrophic event which could cause widespread devastation and loss of life. Recognizing this potential threat is the first step to preparing for it. Next, we talked about the importance of having an emergency plan and kit. This is your survival blueprint, folks. The kit should be stocked with essentials like food, water, first aid supplies, important documents, cash, and whatever else you might need in an emergency situation. Remember, in the event of a disaster, these items could become your lifeline. We also touched on the significance of community and communication. In times of crisis, it's crucial to have a strong network of people who can provide support. Neighbors helping neighbors can make a significant difference in survival rates. It's also important to have a communication plan in place so you can stay connected with your loved ones and receive important updates. Lastly, staying informed is key. Knowledge is power, and in a disaster scenario, it could mean the difference between life and death. Keep an eye on the news, follow trusted sources, and educate yourself about potential threats and how to respond to them. So there you have it. Understand the threat, prepare an emergency plan and kit, leverage your community and communication, and stay informed. It may seem like a lot, but remember, a little preparation goes a long way. And more often than not, it's the people who have prepared that come out on top when disaster strikes. Remember, preparation today can save lives tomorrow. Stay safe, stay prepared.